And what is going on, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of Houston Texans football on Bleacher Report. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calvillo. You can find me on YouTube, dropping daily Houston Texans content. Just type in 713 Houston Sportcast. My co-host, Harley, at TheLead_Houston, Astros, Rockets, Texans. He does it all. How's it going, bro?
I'm doing just fine, man. We are officially 1 month away from the NFL draft. So the Houston Texans definitely, as they've improved the roster in some way, shape, or form, we are finally going to get an answer as to what they will do at pick number 25.
Yeah, not only is the draft a month away, but it feels like NFL is, the free agency period is finally coming to an end. Not saying the Houston Texans won't do something else, but it is slowing down all across the league. And as we look forward to the NFL draft, Harley, when you talk about this Houston Texans team, you see what they did. What is the biggest draft need currently for this Texans team?
I mean, I still think at the end of the day, it's an offensive lineman. Depending on the position, you can sway me on tackle or guard.
Okay.
I think guard is a little bit more of a need, but I'm in the realm of get the best offensive lineman available for you at 25, and we'll let the rest of it figure it out. And then after that, I mean, it's wide receiver. Then after that, you could argue tight end. You could argue running back. You could argue defensive tackle. I think DT is a little higher than running back. I think DT and tight end maybe
Okay.
right there together. And I think those are the few needs that the Houston Texans have to go into in the NFL draft.
Okay, well, what we are going to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to do an NFL mock draft simulator here on the Pro Football Network, and I kind of do agree with you, Harley. I feel like we can kind of do anything we want to with that 25th overall pick. Even though there was a lot of movement in free agency, we could both say those are just band aids and not long term solutions. So shouldn't stop you from looking at a wide receiver in the draft, an offensive tackle. But let's go ahead and start. So, random mock draft simulator. And here we go at pick 25. Let me give you who was available offensive tackle wise, Harley.
Okay.
One of them is Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas, 6'5", 315 pounds, a RAS score of 826. Here's what they have to say about him. Kelvin Banks has all the physical attributes needed to be a high-level starting offensive lineman at the NFL level. He has the athletic traits that scouts drew over at the offensive tackle position. He's a natural mover with quick feet and impressive short area explosiveness. They said they could also see him moving inside to play guard. Else at the offensive tackle spot, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, 6'4", 317, Harley. If it wasn't for a season-ending injury, Josh Simmons could have been more widely regarded as the best offensive line prospect in the 2025 NFL Draft. In the 6 games he started, Simmons put out the best and most consistent tape in the class, which is supported by the singular quarterback pressure he allowed. Now, with Josh Simmons, they also, project him. Well, not project him, but they said he could also move inside and play guard for you as well. Another offensive tackle or offensive guard that could be available to you is, Donovan Jackson. But when you're at pick 25, you're looking at either Kelvin Banks or Josh Simmons. So those are available to you at the offensive tackle spot. Who would you rather have between those two?
It's tough when you ask me because when I see Josh Simmons, I'm like, man, I'd rather him stay at the tackle position.
Okay.
And so ultimately, that leads you to okay, you already signed Cam Robinson, you got Trent Brown, your two tackles currently, at least predicted, is Titus Howard and Blake Fisher. That is four potential tackles. Now we do think that Titus Howard could move inside to guard, but with Josh Simmons, I'm looking at a guy that is arguably the best tackle in this NFL draft without the injury. And even with the injury, he's still a first round pick.
Yeah.
Like he has legitimate talent. We're going to find out more about Josh Simmons later in his pro day. That's going to reveal a lot when it comes to Josh Simmons. He had a really nasty torn patellar tendon injury. A lot of NFL careers kind of go up in flames when that happens, but he is very, very young still. So he has more potential, in my opinion, than Kelvin Banks.
Okay.
But Kelvin Banks is a very solid player in his own right and looks more like a really good fit to actually move inside to the guard position. Um, I'm gonna upset a lot of Texas Longhorns fans here. I really like Josh Simmons. I think he's the better prospect. The
Okay.
injury does worry me, but I think considering his camp and people that have been talking out of his camp, they're saying that he'll be ready for week 1 of the NFL. So um, it's a big risk though at
Mhm.
25. I don't know if you would want to play that risk at 25.
I might want to lean more with the healthy player, which is why
Yeah.
I'll go to Kelvin Banks. And was talking to our guy John Crumpler, lead analyst for the Texans Wire. He said he's not worried about his arms, and that's what a lot of people are concerned about with
Hmm.
Kelvin Banks is, him kind of having T-Rex arms, and you can't have that as a tackle. So moving him inside is the move. So I think I will go Kelvin Banks here, but there are two other players I want to talk to you about at pick 25 potentially. And number one, I'm sorry, well, one of them, wide receiver Emeka Abuka, he has gone nowhere. And I think there is a realistic option. He's there at 25. Abuka is a well built slot receiver who projects as a reliable chain mover at the next level. He offers good overall size for the position and has good strength and athleticism. He is primarily aligned in the slot while at Ohio State, and that's exactly what he'll likely call home at the next level. Abuka is an excellent route runner and understands how to use head and body fakes to create separation, and is outstanding in using his hands to keep his body clear throughout the stem of his route. So that's one of the wide receivers that is right now available to us at 25. The other one is one that I think is just very exciting, and that is Luther Burden the third out of Missouri. And he is a slot receiver with an impressive combination of speed, power, and agility. His 2023 campaign showed that he is more than capable of taking on a high workload. His natural playmaking skills make him dangerous in space, and he has ball skills to spare when allowed to stretch the field vertically. As a route runner, he has shown progress but still needs additional development. When you see the ball in Luther Burden's hand, it is much must watch TV because something's going to happen. He's going to shake someone. Um, I still would lean a Mecca Ibuka because I'm also tying in the connection with CJ Stroud. This would work like a glove, but at 25, you have Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons, Emeka Ibuka, Luther Burden available to you. If you were general manager Nick Casario Harley, where are you going?
It's the age old question, right? I mean, it's the question that fans were asking the Cincinnati Bengals a long time ago to their number one wide receiver that just got paid a boatload of money. Was it getting Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell? Do you want to get somebody that can block for Joe Burrow, or do you want to get a absolute weapon for him? Now, obviously, a Kelvin Banks versus a Buka or Luther Burden are not at that level of prospects. But it's still the same question. Do
Mhm.
you want to keep CJ Stroud upright consistently, or do you want to grab another weapon to go with it? And to be honest, considering the board right there, I am a big fan of Luther Burden. I love him out of Missouri. His stats went down this previous year, but the quarterback play at Missouri was not good. I don't understand what they were doing there at Missouri. But Luther Burden is an absolute dog. I mean, again, when the ball is in his hands, he is electric. He's a solid route runner, and he can really pop the top off the defense whenever he wants to. Him with Nick Cayley sounds a lot of fun, like a lot of fun. And Now, how well can he play outside receiver? Not entirely sure. Okay, considering Christian Kirk is going to be mainly used in the slot. Not that you can't have two slot guys. We've seen Nick Haley work very well with two slot
Hmm.
guys. The two choices for me here would be either Kelvin Banks or Luther Burden. I like Igbuka. I do. I like the continuity you're talking about there. I just think Luther Burden has a little bit more potential
That
out of that wide
playmaking
receiver.
ability stands out also.
Yeah. Ibuka looks like a safe pick wide receiver. Looks like he'll be a solid one.
Mhm.
But you want that potential guy. I feel like Burden has a little bit more potential. And him between him and Kelvin Banks, man. I mean, what do you want? You want to protect CJ? You want to give him another weapon?
I'm gonna protect CJ, bro. You already know how I feel.
No problem.
All right, so we're gonna go Calvin Banks, number 25 for the Houston Texans in the first round, and I don't think anyone will be upset. Well, in this mock draft, Matthew Golden is gone. If Matthew Golden is there at
Mm,
25,
take
run up and go get him.
yeah.
Um, if you trade up to go get him, that wouldn't surprise me at all either. General Manager Nick Casario has shown that if he wants his guy, he's going to go get his guy. The CJ Stroud draft class, every player was traded up for except for CJ Stroud, who was there for you at 2. Um, like I said, Kelvin Banks, when they talk about him potentially moving into guard, I think he could be a pretty good, pretty damn good one. I'm for
Mm,
protecting CJ.
I could agree with you. I agree with you there.
All right, here we go. So next pick for the Houston Texans, 58. Here's where we see some of the defensive tackles start to pop out. And one of them, Harley, is Walter Nolan out of
Mm,
Ole Miss, 6'3", 296 pounds. Walter Nolan is an athletic three technique defensive tackle, which is a valuable asset in today's NFL. Combine that with his leap in production in 2024 and his top-notch pedigree, it's not hard to see why many are high on him entering. Although only 21 years old, Nolan has shown improvement as a technician over the years. Another defensive tackle available to us, Deion Walker out of Kentucky, 6'3",
mm.
296 pounds. Um, Let me go ahead and get the draft. I'm sorry, he's 6'7",
Yeah, he's a big
330.
dude. I was like, huh?
He's a behemoth. Um,
Yes.
Simply a massive individual with the length, size, and power that makes him a hassle to block one on one. If you're an opposing offensive lineman and fail to block him with proper technique, he's going to out physical you every time. It's Walker's athleticism for his size that make him so special, though. His quickness off the ball and in pursuit of ball carriers is scary good for someone at 350 pounds. At the wide receiver spot, Harley, someone who's available, Alik Ayo Manor, wide receiver out of Stanford. 6'1", 206 pounds, has a high RAS score of 9.7. We talked about protecting CJ Stroud. Tate Ratledge, guard out of Georgia, is available for you right there. Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, Iowa State, is there. Where do you think the Houston Texans go in the second round?
That's tough. I really like Tate Ratledge to guard there. You did already draft Kelvin Banks, but it doesn't scare me at all to go ahead and say, yeah, another guard. Yeah, no problem. I would not mind it. Competition is here in H-Town with D'Amico Ryans, and he loves the competition. And whatever happens, happens. If those two rookies are better than what you currently have, then they're better than what you currently have. So I don't mind that idea. You know, when what was the wide receivers you mentioned?
Alik Ayo Manor, wide receiver out of
Mm,
Stanford. 6'2", has a high RAS score of 9.7.
yeah.
He has the tools to be, to thrive along the perimeter in the NFL. Has a large catch radius and impressive ball skills, and his coordination helps him track down the ball well and take optimal angles in the air. He offers pretty good speed for his size too, and the combination of size and speed make him a difficult defender to bring down. After the catch, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. is a wide receiver known for his impressive size and reliable hands. 6'4", 214 pounds. Recorded 87 receptions for 1,183 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2024, earning second team All Big 12 honors. I just think though it's going to be hard for me to pass up on someone like a Walter Nolan or a Deion Walker.
Yeah, and I think the best player available there is Walter Nolan, and I think it's by a pretty large gap.
Mm,
I would still look at wide receiver maybe later. You still have guys in there like maybe Jack Beck from TCU. There's Kyle Williams, somebody that had a visit today with the Houston Texans. A top 30 visit was Kyle Williams out of Washington State. So, I mean, there's still some wide receivers there for the taking. I do agree with Sergio. I know he said
yeah.
Nolan long gone by 58. Again, this is a mock draft, but I do agree with him. I don't think Walter Nolan is there by 58. But in this scenario, in our hypothetical, I would take Walter Nolan right away, and you immediately have improved both sides of the trenches.
Not only that, when you're talking about the defensive tackle spot, the one thing you're lacking is just youth at that position, and you really haven't had youth in a while since you took Roy Lopez and Kurt Hinish, in the later rounds of the draft a couple of years ago. Shout out to big sexy Roy Lopez. I know that's Harley's guy, but defensive tackle spot getting younger, and you're adding in the three taking Walter Nolan, and you know what happens when defenders get onto this D'Amico Ryan's defense, they get better. And if you have an impactful rookie on your defensive line at the defensive tackle spot alongside of Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, dude, it's going to be scary. This front four the next 3 years is going to be absolutely insane. Pick 79 for the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Here is who is available. Now, are we looking at wide receiver here in the third round?
Um, I mean, yeah, I'm still looking at receiver, and I'd still look at offensive line.
Okay, so there's Jalen Noel, Iowa State. 5'10", 194 pounds, 9.73 RAS, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns this season. Explosive release and strides make him tough to defend. Route running is improving. He can be a day 2 pick. There is, let me see, Tej Johnson out of Oregon, 5'9", 154 pounds. But I am scared of going with the smaller wide receivers. We know our small wide receiver right now is having issues staying healthy. Shout out to Tank Dell. We wish you the very best. Jack Beck out of
My
TCU,
God.
6'1", 214 pounds, is a versatile and physical receiver who brings strong hands, sharp route running, and a tough playing style to the field. That sounds exactly like a Nick Caley wide receiver. He excels in contested catch situations, using his body control and strong hands to secure difficult grabs in traffic. Beck's ability to work both outside and in the slot make him a valuable weapon in different offensive schemes. I wouldn't mind Jack Beck at all. Let's look at who's available at the offensive tackle position. Tackle wise, there's nothing there for you that stands out. Guard wise, Dylan Fairchild, the
Mhm.
guard from Georgia. Would you rather have him, or would you rather have Jack Beck, wide receiver out of TCU? There's also Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas, available, and
Uh-huh.
Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU, who is available.
Ooh. See. Now I just changed. Now you just changed my mind because Mason Taylor is an absolute stud.
Uh,
Man, Mason Taylor has been. He's being talked about as arguably the guy that could go down as the best tight end in this draft class by some draft experts. I'm a big fan of his and Elijah Arroyo. I am a very, very growing fan of Mason Taylor. He does everything you want pretty much out of the tight end position. He also blocks really well too. Nick Caley is a tight ends coach, and I cannot forget Aaron Wilson has continuously said that the Houston Texans will be looking to improve the tight end spot, trying to get younger, as he said. And again, being the two names he mentioned, Brevin Jordan and Cade Stover, and not mentioning your starter in Dalton Schultz is very interesting. Again, you could trade Dalton Schultz before June 1st and save some money.
Mhm.
And the draft is in April. You still have the rest of May if they wanted to get rid of Dalton Schultz, if they feel confident enough with Brevin Jordan, Cade Stover, and a rookie tight end. That says a lot. So, man, I'm a big fan of Mason Taylor there. I think him or Jack Beck are my two picks right there.
Mason Taylor, 6'5", 251 pounds. Taylor is a well-rounded tight end with a blend of athleticism, size, and football IQ that allows him to contribute as both a receiver and a blocker. As a pass catcher, he runs clean routes and displays reliable hands, consistently securing catches in traffic and stretching the field down the seams. Taylor's physicality and willingness to engage defenders make him an effective blocker in both the run and the pass game. Would not mind this at all. I think I would go with Mason Taylor with you. And also the Houston Texans have 2 picks in the third round, so we would be, back on the clock very shortly. But offensive tackle, defensive tackle, tight end. I'm feeling very confident about our first 3 picks, Harley.
I am too. I'm pretty excited about those three right away. Even though we haven't addressed the wide receiver position, I still think that it's could be just fine. You still have receivers that will be on the board, and I can't forget the running back position either. Considering the Texans talked to a lot of running backs at the NFL Combine, and running back is the deepest part of this draft class, one of the deepest positions in this draft class. So I can't forget running back either here at 89.
Well, there's not really anything available, for us at 89. There's
Okay,
DJ Giddens out of Kansas
like that.
State, Bayashu Tutin out of
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Damian Martinez out of Miami, and then the rest of the guys there are, projected as late draft
Mm,
selections. The wide receiver spot, I mean, Jack Beck is there out of TCU,
there
someone
we
who
go.
we talked about. Let me see, offensive tackle, offensive guard. We talked about Dylan Fairchild. But I think if Jack Beck is right there, how can you not take him? And you have an exciting white section in your wide receiver room with Jack Beck, Braxton Berrios, and Justin Simmons. But with this draft, you go offensive heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the Texans might be going offensive heavy. I
Mhm.
really do. A lot of the mock drafts that I have done so far have been particularly heavy on the offensive side of the ball. So does not shock me that we tend to go the same way. Yeah, I think Jack Beck is the pick there at 89.
I just think that will be, kind of what would finish off your wide receiver room. So you have Nico Collins, wide receiver 1, Christian Kirk, wide receiver 2,
Hmm.
Jack Beck, wide receiver 3 or 4 when he's competing with Braxton Berrios and John Minchie and Xavier Hutchinson for reps out there. And you hopefully, give the nod to the rookie. But Harley, if I told you that after the first 3 rounds, the 2025 NFL draft, the Houston Texans went Kelvin Banks at 25, Walter Nolan at 58, Mason Taylor at 79, and Jack Beck at 89. Would you say this was a good draft for the Houston Texans?
Absolutely. I think that's a really cool best case scenario type of draft. I wish it was that easy sometimes. I really do. But you obviously, like, again, I don't know if Walter Nolan is there at 58. You never know if someone falls in love with Jack Beck, who has a lot of rave going towards him. He had a really good Senior Bowl. He has a very touching personal story as well. So, he could get a lot of love going towards his way. A pro day as well is up for him. Mason Taylor is somebody else that is getting a lot of love out of the tight end position. And remember, I said NFL draft experts are considering him to possibly be the best tight end prospect in this draft, and that
Hmm.
includes Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. So, um, if that's what they're predicting, you can imagine other teams going, maybe we should take them a little higher. But ultimately, The question is I would be happy. I would be ecstatic. I
Mhm.
would be joyful after a draft like this, after improving both sides of the trenches right away at 25 and 58. You help D'Amico Ryans inject some youth and talent at the offensive line as well as the defensive line. You get yourself a potential wide receiver too that could, hell, who knows? The ceiling is high with Jack Beck. And I think, like you mentioned, he fits well with Nick Haley, but that description also fits well with how the Houston Texans want to play football. And then you have the other one was Mason Taylor, and again, it's tough to fathom what they do at tight end if they drafted one that early. But a very fun topic to get into when Dalton Schultz could be maybe somebody that's not with this team going into the 2025 season. Who knows?
I would say you have two day one starters, Kelvin Bank at guard and
Mm-hmm.
Walter Nolan at defensive tackle. I would say middle of the season, you start to see Mason Taylor and Jack Beck kind of, make their presence felt on the team. And one thing about the Houston Texans the last couple of seasons, Harley, they have had 1 to 2, even 3 day, day one impact for rookies, right? CJ Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., Tank Dell, then Kalen Bullock, Kamari Lassiter. Hey, even give some Blake Fisher love towards the end of the season. I am now expecting, right, some of these rookies to be impactful and ready to go. We're not waiting for you, is what D'Amico Ryans told the rookies last year. And hey, the rookies, they weren't waiting either. They were right with them alongside of the way. But this would be a draft that I will be excited for. I want to get your thoughts on someone else. And I was watching his highlights today, looking at his tape. What are your thoughts on Savion Williams, wide
Mm.
receiver slash running back at a TCU? He's like 6'5", and I just don't know he has figured his way out on how to play football. But once he does, he might be an interesting prospect in the later rounds.
I mean, he's super interesting. Again, you mentioned he was a former running back that has learned wide receiver, and he does it very very well. And I think that adds versatility to his
Mhm.
game too. Like we can't forget the L.A. Rams. They used Tutu Atwell. They had given him a few carries out of the running back. Nothing crazy, nothing a lot. Okay, but if you have a guy that's there that can line up as a running back every once in a while. I'm not saying you use him like Debo Samuel, but it adds another wrinkle to the offense. And that is another weapon that ultimately is like Nick Haley is going to just put into the gun holster and say, yeah, I would not mind using Savion in a different capacity. But yeah, he's still raw a little bit as a wide receiver, but he has a lot of potential right there. And you talk about the running mate for Jack Beck. There's two receivers there at a TCU that have a lot of potential there. And I would not be upset with Savion Williams ultimately and his fit with Nick Caley. I think it means a lot. I mean, you could imagine CJ Stroud with a split gun formation. You have CJ Stroud in the middle, and to his right is Joe Mixon, to his left is Savion Williams. Like that would be a very interesting dynamic formation there. So yeah, no, I don't mind a Savion Williams. I would love that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, one thing to be ready for is just a lot of draft content as we count down to the days. The Houston Texans are on the clock, 25th selection in the first round. That was Harley. I am Ruben. For more Houston Texans content, you all know what to do. Come back on Wednesday, on Friday, 6 to 6:30. Do us all a favor. Have a real blessed rest of y'all day. We'll see y'all next time.